opportunities. All right, sure. Okay, good evening, everybody. So welcome to our new webinar, which is on freelance opportunities. And we have our HOD sir, Sandeep sir, and we have our senior faculty, Mohit sir, with us. And we have our two alumni, which are passed out from this university, LPU itself. First one is Ritik Raj, and our second student is Javed Akhtar. So first we'll talk about Ritik Raj. So he's our B Design animation student, and he's a 3D character artist. He creates 3D models, and currently his work experience, he's working as a professional 3D artist in industry, and he also worked as a freelancer. And on the other hand, we have Javed Akhtar. He's our B Design multimedia student. He's basically 3D journalist, and he also creates some automation tools for artists so they can create their work more in a faster way. And right now he's working in the industry as a technical artist, and he also worked as a freelancer, as a 3D artist. And Ritik, we can start with you. So you can just tell about your experience, how you have started working as a freelancer. How did you started working? I mean, how did you get your first gig as a freelancer? What kind of revisions did you get? How much you have earned as a freelancer on a first gig? So the experience you need to share with us. So over to you, Ritik.
Yes, thank you very much for the introduction. I'll start by freelancing career about my introduction. So I started my freelancing career around January 2022. So last year I started my freelancing career. So how I got my, we have prepared a presentation. So can we present that actually?
Yeah, sure. Please do that.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's visible.
Okay. So the very first step for starting a freelancing is to get a good portfolio. Without a good portfolio, you cannot start a freelancing career, because that is the main thing you need for your freelancing. So I'll talk about how I got my first freelancing job. So it was during the Corona period. During January 22, I got this first project. So this was to a sculpt Ronaldo character. And let me show you how I got this job. So this is my ArtStation page. My client approached me by just seeing this Mr. Bean artwork. So I had uploaded this work in August 2021. And around 4 or 5 months later, I got my first freelancing job just by this artwork. So this is how I got my first job, and it was just for $80 work. Okay, but unfortunately, this project was. Yes, sir, you're on mute.
Okay, so what I was saying, so you have to also tell us how did you get the notification from the client? Did they mail you or?
Okay, sure.
Yeah, these are the things also we need to know.
Okay. So so let me show the mail. Yes. So he contacted me through email. he saw my work on our station, and then he asked me if I was free for any freelance work. So what happened was, during the Corona time, the artist he was working with got Corona, so he was not able to work. So this is how I got my first job, and I have continued working with this client for over 1.5 years, and soon this is going to turn into a full-time job. So from next month, I will be working for him on a monthly contract basis.
Okay, hi Ritik.
Yes, sir.
Ritik, as I can understand, there are two different streams, actually three different streams that come out through freelancing. First one is that you start the freelancing, right? And
Yes,
you're
sir.
doing freelancing entire time. Second one is you start with the freelancing and you end up working full time for one of your clients, right?
Yes, true.
And next one is you start working with the freelance and then you end up by opening your own startup,
Yeah, that's also
right?
happened.
So these are the 2-3 avenues that students will be able to use. Right now I'm addressing to other people also who are in this webinar. So first I would say, just give me, if you are comfortable, just give me a some lump sum amount that you would like to share that you have made, because that's the one thing that everyone who want to know. That
Yeah, I'll
how
share
much
project by
to look at.
projects.
Just one figure, random figure. No, right now no need to show much projects. Just the random figure, approximate.
Okay,
Or
so I started working my freelance last year from January 22, and till now I have worked with the same client and one more client.
Ritik,
So combining that around 4 lakhs.
how much you said? 4 lakhs, right?
Yes, sir.
So what do you plan to do? You want to plan to keep working as a freelancer, or you want to change it to full-time employment with one of your clients, or open your own startup?
Right now I have not thought about like opening my own startup. I'll continue with turn into a full-time job with my current client.
It's offline or online?
Yes, sir, it's online.
It's online. And the location is?
I'm working from home actually. So because
No, not
the
your
client is
client location.
from
Client is where? US, UK?
he's from UK. The company name is Wonder TV.
That's good. So you plan to work full time as an online mode with one of your clients, right?
Yes, sir.
So this is what I was saying, that and in the same line, Javed has shifted from freelancing to working full time with one of the offline area that we'll talk about Javed later in some time. So anything that you want to share with people or students should remember before starting a freelancing. Guys, if you're not aware, I just wanted to inform you that the scope of freelancing is not something you have to do separately. It is one of a part of your course for the project. So from second year onwards, each student have compulsory input of doing a freelancing work. If you do not, if the student do not do that portion of the freelance from the project, they lose marks, right? So in a starting, we try to encourage the people, try to encourage the student, to start with the freelancing. Once they get the taste of the freelancing, the example are in front of you, these two guys. So because generally when you start, you don't get work. Shivam sir, which is also have been doing much freelancing in the past, will also be sharing the same thing, that starting is very tough to get a first or second work. Once you get good feedback from your online clients, So that keeps starting, and then the ball goes the rolling. So that's how you started, and many people. This is just an example. Ritik has done. We have the data of, I would say, lakhs and lakhs. Some people might have done 10 lakhs of the freelancing work. So this way you can also help on the fees part, the finance part for your parent. So that's how you can see to it you are interested into some part-time, pocket money. The freelancing is the way. You want to help your parents for the finances. The freelancing is the way. You want to start with your own company. That's again starting up the freelancing. You want to keep working as a freelancer. That's always there with you. Or you want to work one of your clients. That happens mostly, because when you work too much with one particular client, they try to get a full-time, offer for you. So this is the summary. I just thought I should summarize the whole thing. So yeah, Ritik, we are short on time, but still you keep going on and show some of the key areas, maybe some key projects.
Yes.
Yeah.
So over an year, we worked on 3 short films. Can I show one of them right now? It's like a 90-second animation.
Sure. Please go ahead.
Can you hear the audio of the video?
No problem. Audio, no issue. Keep going with
Okay.
it. Yeah.
Okay, I'll play it. Yeah. So this was a project that I worked on with my client. In this one, my responsibility was to model the main character, which was the Lego, and texture them individually. So the Lego model is the same for everyone, just the texture is different for each them. So worked on this project for like a week, and this was paid around 1,500 pounds, so 1.5 lakhs.
Very good.
So this was an example of one of my projects.
Great. It's a quite impressive amount for work done in a week, I would say.
Yes.
Okay, Shubham sir, Ritik, please stay here. Okay, don't go. Shubham sir, can we move to Javed?
Yes, sir.
Uh,
So Javed, you can first introduce yourself, then you can just let us know how you have started working as a freelancer and on which platform you have started working as a freelancer. And you can explain if you're not, let's say, if you have got something which you're not comfortable with, let's say you're a 3D modeling artist and someone says, a client, let's say you have to work on a 3D animation as well. So how you handle those clients, you accept those offers or you just decline totally. So how you handle such clients, and just explain whatever you know about as a freelancer.
So I've also prepared a presentation, so I'll start with that because it
Yeah,
makes
sure,
it
you can.
easier for us to show. So I'll share my screen. Once you guys are able to see my screen.
It's visible.
Okay. Full screen. So first off, my name is Javed Akhtar and I am a 3D artist, as I've just mentioned, as well as I also work on many random things. This is my portfolio, like the homepage of my portfolio. Mostly it's character art as well as environments and props. I also do animation. On top of that, I'm also into 3D printing, shader development. I do AR, VR, as well as game development. Currently, I'm hired as a technical artist in the studio called Rightwind. I have primarily worked on NFT projects and their generation algorithms. Right now, I'm making promo videos for the same NFT projects. Now, since I'm a hired employee, why the hell am I talking about freelancing? Well, the reason being, I started freelancing at a very early age. I was still in 12th grade, I think. That's when I started doing it. So I actually have a really long, experience with this. Now, my experience, I would not say I'm the kind of person who has earned a lot. I am very comparable to the students who will be just starting out. And I believe my experience will help them understand what the domain is, because honestly speaking, many people think that freelancing, once you get into it, you'll have a lot of money in that. But the reality is it's very different for everyone. It's like how good you are with your communication. There are so many factors other than your skills alone. We'll talk about that. Other than that, in these 3 or 4 years, I've worked on more than 50 projects with more than 20 clients. I've worked with a lot of people and I've seen all sorts of people, as well as by the time it was going really well, especially for the last 2 years, when I was doing freelancing, approximate annual profits were around 3 to 4 lakhs. And that is really good for someone who's in college. Basically, all of your expenses of food, living is taken care by yourself. Now,
Excuse me, Javed.
Yeah.
Are you showing your presentation? Because we are seeing your home screen right now.
Oh shit. Wait, one sec. You should have mentioned that. I think it should be visible now.
I thought you were holding that time.
Sorry. Okay, present. Yes, I'll share my presentation. Okay, I think it's visible now. So yeah, as I was saying, right, that kind of amount is really good for anyone who's just starting out. Now I'll talk about my own freelance journey. Another thing is everyone's journey is very different. Freelancing itself is a very big thing. The experiences you'll have will differ from each individual person. The only thing similar is you find a person, he pays you money. That's it. That's the only similarity. Rest of it is usually very different. Now, why did I start freelancing at 12th standard? Basically, I was a kid and I had very little to no pocket money. So I really wanted to exploit my skills with computers to make money out of it. Initially, I thought I would do game design because I was really good at programming. But while doing game design, I figured it's much easier to make money by making models and stuff. So that's how it started. Now, my first project was this, making a basic bike model. This was for a game. It was a mod for a game, and this was actually a very lucky project because I went to freelancers for this. And if anyone has ever been to freelancers, they know for a fact it's really hard to get a job over there because of the saturation alone. There are so many people who want a job, but and the kind of money that they ask for is very minuscule. Like you won't survive there. Now I got lucky for some reason. I got this project. I got $20 for this first one. Now I didn't have a PayPal account, so I accepted it in my Steam wallet. So yeah, that's another thing that people do. Now, after that, I actually realized the reality of what a freelancer has to go through. For 3 straight months, I didn't get anything. That was while I was only using Upwork and freelancers. What happened after that is basically on a Discord server, I was talking to a person and he needed some help with his character models. I decided to help him out and he wanted to pay me for that. Initially, I declined because again, I just helped him out. Why would I want money for it? But then he says he's gonna pay me $100 for 6 hours of work. That again is a lot of money for someone who's still in school, right? So I decided to go through this, and this was I think when I realized that there is is potential in freelancing. Like, you can make a decent living out of it. After this, I started pursuing freelancing, professionally. And during that, another thing that people don't experience a lot is they get cheated in freelancing, because it is a gig by gig thing. It's not, there isn't always a contract involved. Obviously, if you're a very small freelancer, you'll be working on projects ranging from, let's say, $15 to anywhere around $500. If it is anywhere close to $500 or $1,000, even $1,000, there will be no contracts involved. Like, most people who are giving you the job will not be interested in handing you a contract. Hence, there is a huge potential of you being cheated, and there are multiple ways you can address that. I'll talk about that as well. For me, my personal experience was I did some work for him and he straight up didn't pay. He didn't get the files though. That's another thing that you have to make sure. Yes, and that was a really good eye-opener for me, because I realized that every intention that I have about the entire process of how the back and forth will go between me and the client, I have to communicate it beforehand. I cannot just expect the person to be good. You just have to be a lawyer without being a lawyer. You have to use words, you have to use keywords, and make sure your intentions are very clear to the person in front of you. After that, again, especially after learning communication, I got a lot of good projects. Again, I just inserted one screenshots, but I worked on a lot after that. This was one of the biggest ones. I was working as a 3D character artist for this project, and I made some models for 3D printing. Yes, now I'm going to talk about the challenges. The biggest challenge I had throughout this entire experience was the unproductive gaps. I would have a decent amount of work for, let's say, a week, and after that, for months, there will be no work. Now, let's say I was charging $30 an hour when I was working as a freelancer. But if my work is only just for an hour, that's 7 other hours wasted. That straight up means I'm at a loss of $210. That's just like, baseline example. And another thing is work-life balance. Since most of the clients that you'll find are very less likely to be from India, so you'll have to accustom yourself to their time zones, and this really messes up with your sleep schedule and things like that. Hence, I switched to full-time. Obviously, per hour, I'm making less, but overall, it's getting me more money first. And second, it is very chill. Like, after I clock out, I do not have to work. That's the one thing that I like about full-time jobs. Now, I'll just talk about very basic stuff. Like, I'll try to keep this as simple as possible and as quick as possible, because I believe the questions are more important from the students. So first, how to be a freelancer? Build a portfolio. Do not skip this. No one's going to give you work if you're not showing your portfolio, you're not showing what you're capable of. Many students are even confused where to build their portfolio. Just use any platform, ArtStation, Instagram, Facebook, anything where people come and can see your profile. You have to put your stuff out there. Second, get a PAN card. I don't know how old you guys are. Maybe most will be. I think they're first-year students. Like in this group right now, are they first-year students?
Yeah, they will be mostly first year only.
Okay, so I might assume that you're not 18 plus yet, so maybe you can use your parents' PAN card. But as soon as you turn 18, get your PAN card and get your personal PayPal account. That makes it so much easier, because you can randomly get clients. Like, even one of your friends will come over to you and be like, okay, can you do this work for someone? So yeah, keep this prepared if you really want to get into freelancing. Now, let's talk about some actual skills. Communication, I think that's a no-brainer. Like, when I talk about communication, I mean, I'll just give you an example when we use communication. First is when you approach a client. When you're approaching it, 3 things that you have to make sure of is you tell them exactly what you'll be doing, you tell them exactly how long it's going to take, and you tell them exactly how much you're going to charge. Now, the third part, you can keep it vague depending on the situation. Initially, I used to keep it like, very precise, like I'll pitch my clients how much I'm going to charge. But after a certain time, I realized I would charge according to how much the client is willing to pay. So that requires a little bit of back and forth to realize, okay, this person might be able to pay this much and this person might be able to, pay that much. So that's something that I don't think can be taught. You'll have to learn it yourself by just doing it. It's just a brute force thing. And a generalized skill set. I am a generalist, and the reason being, just because I was a freelancer. Because I wanted to make money and I went to these platforms, there were all sorts of jobs. Now, those jobs I had an idea about, but I didn't really know how to do. But since I had an idea, I could easily execute it. Just watch a ton of tutorials and just execute. that actually helped me learn a lot of things. Alongside, it also allowed me to have more clients. Like I'm not, precisely limited to just making character art. I may be getting, work for making animations. I might be getting work for maybe doing game programming. Just keep your skills generalized so that the amount of clients you get increases. Like that's one way to have a good cash inflow as a freelancer. And have an ideal hourly rate. This is important because since you're working as a freelancer, you're not competing in your local, in your local industry, you're competing on the world scale. And as we know, it has been established that since we live in a developing country, the hourly rates are pretty less here. But if we go international, the hourly rates increase by a lot. I Googled for a 3D artist, most people were charging, let's say, I think it was $50 back then per an hour. In India, artists were being paid around $10 to $15 at that time. So I found my sweet spot at $30 an hour. Most clients agreed to that. And it allowed me to have a higher pay scale than most of the artists in my local industry, while being competitive in the world, world industry, because every other artist was charging more than me for the same service. So this is one thing. Again, this will depend on what kind of clients you get, what kind of dynamics you form around them. And yes, I think even last time when I came to university, I mentioned this. You need to learn programming, like any sort of, even a little bit of programming. As an artist, there are so many things that you can automate. I still remember I was paid, I think, $250 for 5 minutes of work. The reason it was just 5 minutes is because I automated that process and I just had to press a button and the job was getting done by itself. So this is one thing that you can really exploit, especially with AI technologies being on the rise. This is a must-have skill these days, regardless of your industry. And yes, now what are the sources to get the clients? Many people go to freelancers and Upworks. I won't say don't go there. Obviously, make an account, try to approach clients over there. But remember, that place is very saturated. Every other person is going there. So most probably you won't find anyone. For me, it was very unconventional sources to acquire my clients. For me, it was these places, Blender Artists. They have a form for job posting. There is also this website called Polycount. It is also a form with job posting. Majority of my work came from Discord servers. I'm in over 10, not even 10, I think 15, 20 3D, art related Discord servers. They have a job board. Usually people who want small things done, they would post a request there and I would approach them. As I said, basically any place which has a good foot traffic and related to your industry. Cold mail is one thing that you can try. There was this one time when I was really not getting a job and I was in a very tight spot with money. So I decided to approach random studios with freelance offers, and I did get 2 at that time. So yeah, that's another thing that you can approach. And last is internshala. I know it sounds a bit weird because internshala is supposed to be for internships, but one of my friends who got hired as a freelancer, even though he applied on internshala, reason being the company wanted work done and this person was willing to provide the work. They just didn't want it to be formal, so they decided on a freelance opportunity. So that's another thing that you can do. It's just 2 people being connected, 2 business-oriented people being connected together, just with a label of internship. You can easily change that to freelancing. So yeah, these are some of the sources that I'll recommend. And yes, as a freelancer yourself, there are certain etiquettes that I believe you should follow. I'll get to why you should follow that, because people think I'll just ghost my client. If there's a client you don't enjoy working with and you think, okay, I'll just ghost him, right? I'll tell you why that's very counterproductive. First of all is do not cheat. Regardless of what happens, do not try to fake anything. Do not try to do anything harmful for the client, because you are expecting the client to do the same. Hence, maintain your side of things. And yes, since you have been cheated once, things will happen. People will have those kind of thoughts. Since you've been cheated once, you might think, okay, I got cheated, I can cheat as well. Don't think like that. Keep it very honest. Again, I told this in the beginning. Before starting to work, make everything very clear. Milestones, how much you're going to pay per milestone. You'll have a verbal agreement and everything has to be written beforehand. Make sure that thing is conveyed to the client. Regardless of what the client does, if your milestone says you have to deliver on, let's say, 12th July, you will deliver by 12th July. Maintain your reputation. Reason being, word of mouth is very strong in the freelance industry. what happened with me, I was aggressively approaching clients for the first 2 years of my freelancing career. After those 2 years, I never had to go to these sources that I just mentioned, just because my client base was big enough that I was consistently getting work and even getting recommended to other people. Reason being because I followed these etiquettes, and these people are in a very intertwined industry. One guy was in research and he wanted some visuals done, and he contacted his manager who also wanted similar visualization for a different project, and I got that job as well. So you see, like, it's just people talking to each other, hence you need to maintain your reputation. That's the most important thing you have to, like, understand. And the last is, if a client really does not make you feel nice, finish his work and don't talk to him again. That's it. You finish the contract, but you don't have to, like, agree to everything that they say. Okay, I think that was all. Again, if I want to talk about all of it, it will take very long. If you have any questions, let me know. I'll try to answer them.
On this, can you haven't mentioned Fiverr in this. So by freelancers and Upwork, you are mentioning the entire
Yes,
online
I
forum.
mean, yes, I'm mentioning all of them: Freelance, Upwork, Fiverr. Because again, I've only gotten one job from freelancers, and rest of all of them were through, like, word of mouth, these random forums. Freelancers, the problem was, if I were to, like, pick a job and I would pitch, I want to get paid like 5,000 rupees for that, there will be some guy who'll put, I want 500 rupees. So like, that was really not, like, some people do it for the reviews. That's why you can't compete there.
So any particular difference between foreign clients and Indian clients that you noticed?
I've worked for, most of the clients I work for are from, like, outside of India. Only 2 clients were Indian. One thing is very obvious, is the pay is very less. There is no doubt about that. And the second thing is, I'll be very honest with everything that I'll say. So again, do not take any offense. No one take any offense. But one thing I've noticed with Indian clients is that they do not respect the work-life balance part of it. With foreign clients, okay, sometimes it was like, I had to get on calls at, like, uncertain times, but it was decided beforehand. With Indian clients, they would randomly call me regardless of their time. They were completely, let's say, like, they didn't have a life. That's what I would say. So that was the annoying part. Now, the problem with me was that they were not respecting my boundaries as well. So yeah, that's one thing I've noticed. That was not once, that was twice.
My last question would be, Javed or Ritik, any one of you, what are the scope of doing 3D visualization for research paper? Because I have seen that there are lots of research paper who need visuals for their research. For example, somebody is creating some, some patent for some device, right? They would be needing 3D visuals for that, how it works, exploded view, and all those things. So, have you encountered any clients who approach you for these kind of things?
I have not found any clients who wanted any sort of visualization done. I had one client, which again, the manager guy I was talking about, right? Like, I did some work for him and I got recommended to his manager. That was something similar. It was still for research, but it was not for visualization alone. It was for a completely different process. I think they were trying to pitch it to their clients. Like, it was not academic. It was trying to, like, get stakeholders and that kind of stuff. Now, one thing I'll say, this is a very niche field. I think, like, you really need to find these kind of people. I don't think you would randomly encounter them. That's what I would say.
Okay, thank you. Now questions are open to everyone.
Any students want to ask any questions?
Vanshi ma'am, any questions from anyone?
No, sir, not here. Just in a minute, I'll check it. Okay, Agnik Ray actually says, so Ritik, this question goes to you first, and then we'll have Javed's point of view on this. So the question is there any, are there any opportunities in banner making or Photoshop?
The question is to me.
Yeah, so please,
Okay.
yeah.
Yes. Question, like you say, banner making means you're talking about some graphical work. I think the student or the person want to ask me what are the scope of creating graphical works, print design, or graphic, posters and all. There's a hugely scope because that you see around you, wherever you live in the world. You see prints over there. So definitely when something got printed, before that it got digitally created also. That's how you can understand the scope of creating banners in Photoshop or any graphic software. Primarily, Photoshop is used for image manipulation, not for creating banners. But definitely, you can do that also in Photoshop. That you will be definitely able to understand and gain thought during the course duration. I hope this answers the question.
It does, sir. And now, if we can get Ritik's point of view on the same, like what do you want to say as in when you are in the freelance industry yourself? So what do you want to say on the on the question that we had?
Yeah, so I think yeah, it's definitely possible to get freelance job in poster design. So I would give an example. I have a friend who is a graphic designer, and she does like custom made wedding designs. So only people approach her to make her design. She doesn't need to go to Fiverr or freelancer, but you can start your own gig as a poster design on Fiverr. But then again, it all depends on your work. So if your work is good, people will get noticed and would want you to work for them. But the thing is here in graphic designing, for poster designing, I think you will have to search a lot of areas, because you might not get a big freelance job at one time. You will have to work on 10 different jobs to get the same to get a subsequent amount of money.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Ritik. And Javed, do you want to add anything to it?
I think I would say it was possible a year ago, like you could make a good career out of like doing graphic design and stuff. But recently, after the introduction of like stable diffusion and all that stuff, I think the saturation of people who are like who want to get into the same field has increased a lot. So I don't think it is worth approaching anymore.
Okay. So this is my personal question. If somebody is entering this field, okay, so what do you suggest him or her, like what they should maybe study now, as you know that what the scope is basically. So what are those particular things that you would want to suggest somebody who's just entering into this field, that they should be equipped with this or that? Javed?
There are two things that I would have said. One is video editing and the other is 3D modeling. I do not know a lot about video editing side of things, so I can't say a lot about that aspect of it. But for 3D art, I would say it is really nice if you can model in texture as well as rig, because most of the starting developers who make games, especially in this area, they don't have these skill sets and they don't have any idea about this. So they usually pay really well for this, but there are very few people with this kind of skill set. So it's a really good option to start as a freelancer in this domain.
Okay, thank you. And Ritik, do you have any different approach to it?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Yeah, so it's basically if somebody is joining this industry, as in basically the multimedia thing, and wants to do a freelance thing, right? So what do you want to suggest to that person? Like he's naive, she's naive, and you are an experienced person. So as a mentor, what do you want to suggest to that person, that what he or she should follow to get the best out of it?
I think my suggestion would be to just focus on your works and not on the getting a freelance job as soon as possible, because once you get a job, the jobs will keep rolling, you will keep getting job. It's only the first job you need to get, you need to focus on that. And to do that, you just need to work on your jobs, get your work noticed on different platforms, post them on LinkedIn, Instagram, build an ArtStation account, Behance account. If people will like your work, you will get noticed and you will definitely get a freelance work for sure.
Definitely. Thank you, Ritik. Shubham sir, do you wanna have any?
One last question from our students. So the thing is, let's say someone new is trying to come to this industry. So what do you suggest, whether a new student or a freelance, let's say a graduate should focus on a freelance, or should you suggest them to work as a full-time job? You get my idea? Because many of the students
Yes.
usually just get confused with this thing, whether they should pursue full-time as a freelancer, or they should work on both the things, or they should just stop working as a freelancer, or they should just focus on completely on their full-time job. So this is the kind of a question many times is not going to let the student focus on a certain part, because as Javed has said that he is a journal artist, so he have to learn about all the things, right? All the softwares like Blender, 3ds Max, Maya. I think Javed knows about these softwares. So,
Yes.
and in production house, they say you just need to work on a single stuff. If you're a 3D rigging artist, you have to work only on character rigging or creature rigging, these things. But if you work as a freelancer, sometimes they give you to create a complete model, then you have to rig it, texture it. Even sometimes they give you some good amount of money, but you have to also animate those things. So how you, I mean, just give those insights so person or student can decide, okay, I want to be a freelancer full time, or I want to work as a, let's say, a full time job.
I think it is a very personal question because both of them have their own benefits and consequences. With freelancing, as I said, hourly you're making a lot more than what you'd make in a full-time job. There is no question about that. But the consequences, again, the work-life balance, that will depend on between on the dynamic between you and the client, how you're gonna establish your time. Other than that, I don't think there are any other consequences. With full time, again, you clock out, you get a little bit less money, but there's no one to bother you once you're done with your 9 to 5, right? So you get the idea. The comfort is very different in both scenarios, and for students, they can decide for themselves what kind of lifestyle they want to pursue.
Yes, Ritik, what about you? You want to say something on this?
Yeah, I would like to add on. So if you are looking for a work-life balance, I would suggest to go for a full-time job. What happens in freelancing is it's possible you get a work for 1 week, but then you don't have work for, let's say, like 2 weeks. Again, it can happen if you get a work for one month, but then again, next 2 months, you don't have a work job. So, but again, you can utilize the 2 months in building your own portfolio, in improving your artworks, so you can get more freelance work.
Basically, yeah, basically the skill polishing that we're talking about, right? Like you have
Yeah.
this, you polish that skill and you'll get it. Like you'll get noticed, and after that, work will be coming in for you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and
And slowly you also start establishing main like a single client. You don't have to search for clients again and again.
right.
Clients approach you.
Yeah, definitely. And okay. So there's one question again from Agnik. So Agnik, this question goes to Javed, I think. So Javed, this Agnik student says that he's actually learning photo editing. So he's asking what kind of work he should start with as a photo editor to get the opportunities. So he just wants to know like what should he do after doing and learning the photo editing, basically.
I think editing alone, especially in the competitive industry that we're living in right now, I think that skill set alone is not very much in demand. You'll have to extend that skill set with other things. If you're a good photo editor, maybe you can turn it into a good compositor. You get good at After Effects. If you're a good photo editor, but you want to pursue the 3D domain, you might turn yourself into a texture artist. Just don't limit yourself to this one skill set. Pick one direction and expand that skill set, if that makes sense.
Okay, thank you. And I hope, Agnik, that you must have got the resolution of the query that you've asked here. And I just want to ask anyone, if you have any other query, you can just write in the chat box or the Q&A box. And meanwhile, Shubham sir, do we have any other query from the participants or registrants, whoever? Shubham sir? Okay.
Oh, no, we don't have any query. One thing I want to add over here: when the student earn money, they get spending a lot. So by the end of the day, they are where they started. People buy things they don't need. So if you are doing freelancing, you should learn money management also. So that's a very important part. So spending all the money is same as good as not earning at all.
That is a really good point sir has made, because I want to expand on that. What happened was, right, when I started freelancing for the first time, like, dead honest, that was a lot of money for a kid. For someone who was still in 12th standard, is making like 10 to 15K. That's not a lot of money, obviously, for a grown-ups, right? But for a kid who barely has a pocket money of, let's say, like, 100, 200 rupees, is getting 15 to 20,000. What was I doing? I was spending that money on online games, as you might have expected. So I was buying a lot of games on Steam. But one good thing happened is, once I got to college, I got in a group of people who were actually freelancing. And from them, I noticed they were like, not taking any money from their parents. And the reasoning was, they were like, this like, college phase is adult in alpha phase. Like, how games have alpha, beta. So like, you're basically an adult, but you're in alpha phase. Hence, you can just try it out, how it feels to manage your money. But if anything goes wrong, obviously you can go back to your parents, right? So you should, like, just try to see if you can sustain yourself. So that was a really good experience that I had, because after that I had to really get into financing and understanding, okay, I need to budget myself, right? Because before that, I was taking all the money from my parents for food and rent, and whatever I was making, I was just spending on my own leisurely stuff. But once I stopped taking money from them, like, I realized, okay, you need to manage money, you need to figure out, like, where all your money is going. Like, that's a really good skill to have.
Okay, so I think we're done with the question. Okay, we've got another question from an anonymous attendee. So this question goes to both Javed and Ritik, and this is choosing graphic designing a good career option, keeping in mind the scope and availability of the jobs? Javed?
I would say, like, dead honest, no. Right now, there are already a lot of graphic designers out there who want a job. And on top of that, again, I'll repeat myself, but Stable Diffusion, Midjourney, things like that are on the rise. So the job of a graphic designer alone is not good. Same thing, you'll have to extend the skill set. If you're a graphic designer, I would say get into UI UX. That's the easier one to get in. But you can also get in, I think there is interaction design. Recently, I did not know anything about interaction design, but one of my colleagues here does that, and I learned, like, how much it affects the performance of an application. So yeah, things like that. Whatever skill set you have in mind, expand.
Okay, and Ritik, do you want to add anything to it?
I would just say, like, keep expanding and keep learning new skills.
Right. Okay. Thank you so much. And I think we're done with the queries and with the questions here. And at last, I just want to thank everyone here who's, Shubham sir, Sandeep sir, Mohit sir, Ritik and Javed for coming in, for giving in your time, basically, for crediting your time for all the participants here. And I hope that they must have got a fair idea as to what career pathway they should choose after coming in the field. And at last, I just want to maybe request, you can come in here in the LPU and you would find great mentors. You can see our students are achieving such great heights. So you can come in here and get yourself brushed up and polished. And after that, you can excel the career in whichever field you want to. And Sandeep sir, do you want to have any last word of the webinar?
I would say the reason we have called these two guys, Ritik and Javed, Ritik is always on the introvert side and Javed is always very talkative. So the reason why we choose these two personalities, because no matter, even if you are very introvert, you don't like talking to much people and all those things. So still you can make money through freelancing. And if you like to talk, you would like to share your ideas, your vision and all, that's also, good money waiting for you. And do not always stick for the money, because that's, very monetary part and very small part of your life. So make it a part of life as a very small portion, because money will come and go, but the skill will not. So make it a part, and then sunshine.
Indeed, sir. So I think with this, I would want to take your permission, all the experts, to wrap this webinar.
Yeah,
Javed,
please.
Ritik, Sandeep
Yeah,
sir.
sure.
Okay, thank you so much for joining in. Okay, and at last, I would want to say thanks to all the participants as well for coming in here and for giving your questions, your queries, and the interaction that you've had. So, thank you for joining in. So, we have different webinars that are already coming in. You can just explore those webinars on our site, lpu.in. And till then, stay safe and stay healthy, and meet you soon in the next webinar. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Javed and Ritik.
Thank you, sir.